Well, hello. I wanted to do a video tonight just to cover off a few different things I've added to my bike here that really don't warrant their own video, but I thought I'd cover them all off in one video. There's three things I've done to my motorcycle here that have made a huge difference, and as good as this bike has been to date, and I tout always how much I enjoy driving it, the more you drive it, the more you tweak little things to make it more and more your bike. And for me, making the bike my bike makes it more comfortable and makes it more enjoyable to ride for longer periods of time. So I've done three things to the bike. I've added these Aerowings, which I spoke briefly about last year when I touched upon the Aeroflow windshield. I've added these on. B, I've added a new aftermarket seat. In C, I've actually changed my headset sound system setup because I have the stereo installed on the bike. First thing, these Aeroflow wings. I've added these on and I'm shocked at the kind of difference they made to the wind management of this bike. I've touted this windshield and I said, look, it's great. It improves drastically the wind flow compared to the airflow rather, compared to the stock shield. Primarily, I don't have to put the shield all the way up to get the kind of protection I got from the stock shield when it was all the way up. With this windshield, I could put it up a third of the way, and it basically equals the stock shield all the way up. So to me, that was an improvement because I'd rather look over the shield than through it. The one thing I did notice is with this stock windshield, this aftermarket windshield, is there is a slight bit of what I call thrumming or low frequency buffeting at the top of my helmet. So it's that sort of thing, almost like somebody banging on a plastic pot. Partly because of my helmet and partly because of I think I'm sensitive to that kind of noise. Adding these two sort of wind deflectors that Aeroflow sells and actually packaged with this windshield, it eliminated that thrumming. And I'm flabbergasted. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense that changing the wind flow down here would modify the wind flow up near my head, but it does, and it did. It drastically reduced all sorts of turbulence around my chest. Not that this bike has much, but it eliminated it. So suddenly all the airflow around the bike at about 60 to 70 miles an hour, which is 110 to 120 kilometers an hour here in Canada. Basically, the noise you hear is not buffeting noise, it's just flat white noise, just a constant, steady hiss. And I am shocked at the difference it made just adding these Aerowings from Aeroflow. I really, really like them, and I highly recommend them. I did not add the mini wings that go up here. I've only added these here, and they do a great job. They do reduce the effectiveness of these, okay, that came on the bike, but the difference to me, the benefit of the reduced turbulence all over my upper body is dramatic, and I highly recommend these. The second thing I've done here is I've bought a Sargent Seat. Just the world seat, just a standard black on black with the carbon fiber vinyl trim, passenger and driver. It's the standard non-custom seat off their website. Incredibly happy with this purchase. I really like the stock seat, and I came off a whole lineage of sport bikes. So the stock seat to me was great. It was broad and had the same sort of sponginess as my sport bike seats had. But after about 3 hours in the saddle, one thing I did notice is that even though I don't weigh a whole lot, I found I was squishing down on the main part of the seat. One thing I've noticed is even the way, regardless of the broadness of the seat, the stock seat, is that all the weight was on the center part underneath my butt, just a small area. And if you get off, you can feel that sore spot on your tail. It's not on my whole rear end, it's just the very, very center part. So after about 3 or 4 hours, I found I was shuffling back and forth on the seat, riding on one cheek for a while, riding on the other, just giving each side a chance to take a break, so to speak. This seat actually is harder, it's firmer foam, and it's broader, but more importantly, it's dished. It actually has the foam is actually scooped out front to back and side to side. And what that happens to do is it spreads the weight of my body out a little bit better by reaching up and actually touching the roundness of my rear end, or supporting it, I guess, a better way to do it. The stock seat, which I happen to have right here, has a sort of a crowning, as you can see. Even I mean, as flat as this looks here, it's actually crowned a little bit. In other words, it sits higher in the center than it does on the outside. And front to back, there is some dishing here. Okay. But nowhere near as much as this one. The profile, the height of this one's about the same, but the lateral dishing is much more dramatic, and the foam is firmer, giving you more support. And I had this bike yesterday on a 10-hour run, about 1,000 kilometers, and I think I shuffled in my seat twice. Is it perfect? No, I've never found anything perfect, but it is exceptionally close to perfect. Very, very happy for me. There are other brands. There's Russell, which makes what they call a day-long, which apparently is even far more comfortable than this one. Great seat. It's a little too much of a bulky seat for my liking. I like the look and feel of this one. This is great. This one also has a built-in, this comes with it, a receiver for a backrest for a driver, and then there's a kit that sits on the rack back here to support a backrest for your passenger. This bike also plugs right into the heating system of the bike, the stock heating system, without having to make any modifications electrically. It just plugs right in. Installation was about 10 minutes and popped right on, and it fits very, very nicely on the bike. There's no gaps or funny or wiggliness or anything like that. Very, very pleased. And last but not least, as you know, as I've mentioned in other videos, I use a Cardo Scala Q3 headset system. I was up until now using earbuds, but what I've done is I've installed the speakers back in that came with the kit. The reason being is because the stereo system on the bike, with the air management I've employed, and with the, as you know, I've retrofitted the stereo, it goes loud enough, even at 120, 130 kilometers an hour, that I can hear it perfectly fine with earplugs in, just standard red earplugs like these. Okay, so using these earplugs and the stereo at about 6 out of 10 blocks, I can hear the stereo perfectly fine. All my music, radio, satellite, iPod, you name it, I can hear it just fine. So therefore, the only reason I'd be using this system is for receive phone calls through the, which is Bluetooth. I have a Bluetooth connection through the nav system on the bike. So these here do a great job of killing all the noise that was wearing me out. And over these, I can hear, through these speakers, I can hear phone calls. And just through the bike, I can hear all the audio systems. So I've set up a perfect system. So now what I've done is modified the way I've done things, and I'm very pleased. So with these three changes, which amounted to actually, other than the Aerowings, I think the seat was, you can look at the price right off the Sargent website. The Aerowings are also available on the Sargent website, and I have about $500 in the stereo system. I've basically turned this into a very comfortable 3-hour motorcycle. I've taken it from that into a very comfortable 10-hour motorcycle. Very, very pleased, and the noise and the comfort on my butt, and even the comfort from the lack of buffeting, makes this that much more enjoyable bike to ride. Now, as I get close, I can really feel this bike getting dialed into exactly the way I want it. And I'm sure as I go on, I'll find little niggly things that I can tweak. And I only consider these here minor tweaks, but they made a huge difference in the enjoyability of the motorcycle. Most people who own these bikes find you'll always end up replacing the shield and the seat, no matter what BMW ride. And I think that goes for just about most brands when you're looking at sport touring or touring bikes in general. Anyway, very pleased. A bit of a piecemeal video, but all these changes get top marks from me. Until next time.